Conversations with Trent in conjunction with...
Hey, what's going on, folks? What's going on? Welcome to another Conversation with Trent and Friends, featuring the lovely ladies of the conversation, Coach Dee and Shan. We got a good one tonight. We're talking about the mother wound. Actually, we were talking about doing a two-part series, the mother wound and the daddy wound. We'll be doing that one after we continue with this one. So good stuff, man. The mother wound up tonight. We're gonna be talking about the effects of it, the trauma of it all, and whatnot. So I know Coach D is gonna dig in. As promised, we said we come back with that topic after we dealt with some of the requests by you guys. I saw you guys actually been in a group, making a move. So looking at that, seeing that, great topics, great thought-provoking topics, and good stuff. A lot of engagement. So I really appreciate you guys. Really appreciate you guys supporting the conversation and all that good stuff. So let's bring the ladies in and get this thing started. Welcome to the folks over there on Instagram. Appreciate you guys, YouTube, and also on Taylor Kennedy TV. Let's bring the ladies in. What's going on? What's going on?
Good evening. Happy Sunday.
Hey there.
Hey, Coach Dee.
How y'all doing?
Good. Ain't calling my spoiler.
I had to bling out my mug so it looks all pretty.
Oh no, I like some bling now.
What's in the cup? What's in the cup? I know
Water.
For me, ginger juice, so you never know what you got.
Water, always water.
Oh,
What's in the glass?
Sorry, boring. Maybe lemonade once in a while.
I'm like, what's going on? Water and ginger juice, huh?
Water and ginger juice, ginger and lemon juice. So yeah,
Gotcha.
That's my regular. So good stuff, man. We're talking about the mother wound tonight, but let's thank the folks who actually been in the group and actually sharing their thoughts. So we really appreciate that. I see you guys engaging pretty good, real good. So it's good to see that, man. See the guys opening up and becoming transparent and whatnot. And that's what the page was created for, to support the podcast. So we really appreciate that. And as you guys know, as you guys see and have witnessed, that some of that conversation on the Conversation Continue page transferred to the podcast. So you guys keep them coming and we'll definitely do them and knock them out. What's going on?
That's what I was going to welcome. We've got Brenda who's joining us tonight. So thanks, Brenda. She says it's been a minute since she's joined us. So we appreciate you coming back on tonight.
Hey, Brenda,
and Marcus is with us again tonight as well. So welcome back. Thanks for tuning in.
Appreciate you tuning in, Brenda and Marcus. That's Brenda, great supporter from Memphis. So good stuff, man. Real good stuff. Appreciate that. Go ahead.
I'm good. I'm waiting for you guys to start off the topic.
So the mother wound, right? I got a couple of questions, but this is Coach D's topic. Coach D, we were talking and whatnot, and we were supposed to do it the following week that we did the conversation, the past week rather, and we went ahead and went with the group. They voted and we did a topic before that. So as promised, we said we bring it back. Talk about the trauma of it all, the mother wound. So, Coach D, it's all you.
All right. Well, let's go over what the mother wound is. And the mother wound is not, people like to say it's mommy issues or the father wound's daddy issues. It's much deeper than that, right? So it refers to psychological, I'm just reading my notes so I stay on topic because you know how I can go off when we talk about trauma. There's a psychological impact that arises from an individual's relationship with the mother. So you can have physical or emotional neglect, abuse, whether it's verbal, physical, emotional, or financial, enmeshment, where the child becomes the mother's other partner, or over control, and then unrealistic expectations or constant criticism. So I like to say that we love our sons and raise our daughters. So I find that a lot more men have mother wounds that are not spoken about. Like there's a lot of trauma within mothers and daughters because some mothers get into competition with their daughters versus raising them. They start competing with them.
What does that
And
look like?
so what does competing with your daughter look like?
Yeah, what does that?
If your daughter starts dating, or you start saying she looks fast, or
Right.
you over sexualize her at a young age,
Okay.
or you can't. She brings a young man around. They start hitting on the young man, or
Okay.
they say that she's going to steal her husband or her boyfriend. The daughter will.
Oh wow.
Right? They become in competition with them, because, and then you have the physical and emotional neglect. Right? They don't give their daughter a safe space, or their son a safe space to land. Right? As parents, we're supposed to be that safe spot. In the hard world, we're supposed to be the safe spot. And then you'll hear so many people like, well, it's hard out there, so I have to show them how to be. I'm like, no, that's not how it works. Because what you're doing is you're teaching them that you're not a safe person.
Right.
And so that you're building trauma in your children. Right? We're supposed to be the fallback as parents. Right? Our children didn't choose to come into the world. We chose to bring them into the world. It's our job to make sure that we do everything we can, as much as we can, to make sure that they're successful. Right? And that means
it sounds like a ton of trauma, man. I can't wait to get into it. To get through
Oh,
the
yeah.
steps actually going toward what's the journey to healing and getting to a safe space where you're comfortable and you're not bleeding on everyone. So I really want to get into it. Good stuff, man. Real good stuff. Besides, I see some other folks coming in.
Yeah.
Mark is on. Mark.
What up, Slash?
Welcome. Yep, he said, greetings, Princess Coach D and Mr. Epic. Oh, and to you too, Princess Charlie. Okay, thank you, Mark. I appreciate that. AKA Shan on the other comments.
And for our good friends over on Facebook, if you guys could actually do a little something there. If you're watching us on Facebook, you're in the group. But there's another step that you take so we could actually see your name instead of calling you guys Facebook users. So we'll make it a little more, personal or whatever. So we really appreciate you guys tuning in, though. Good stuff.
So let's talk about how the mother wound, because remember, I always say that everything that happens to you from 0 to 7 create your basis for the rest of your life, right? That's where your facts and beliefs all come into play. So in relationships, if there's a mother wound, then 9 times out of 10, you're going to have either a fear of abandonment, you're going to overcompensate, you're going to have difficulty trusting, you're going to seek validation, you're going to struggle with intimacy, issues with boundaries, self-sabotage, and you're going to repeat these patterns because you didn't have, you're unconsciously, like, remember how we say you marry your father? Well, in some cases, you're unconsciously drawn towards the partners who marries your mother's characteristics, inadvertently recreating that cycle of pain, right, and dysfunction. So if your mother is emotionally disconnected, then you will choose a partner who may be emotionally disconnected as well, because that's the relationship you had growing up.
Right.
And I tell people, if you come from traumatic relationships and the relationship feels comfortable, you need to run.
Right.
Because that means that relationship feels comfortable to you as a person. That means it's a trauma relationship if you have not healed.
Right.
So, but if you've done the work, that relationship if it's toxic or traumatic, you're immediately going to run away because it's not for you anymore.
So with that said, talking about healing, let's go through the steps. I'm more than sure you have some steps there. What are the steps to get to healing? I know it's a process.
First, you have to, the healing the mother wound is like 6 steps into healing yourself, right? Because first you have to do the inner work, the shadow work, to figure out who you are as a person and your personal beliefs and facts. So once you figure out
explain the shadow work.
So shadow work is taking the deep dive into your personality, looking at both the good and the bad. We call it shadow work because we all have toxic traits. If anybody says that they don't, run far away from them because they're delusional, right? None of us are perfect. And so we have to figure out what our baggage that we're carrying around that's not perfection that we need to work on. We will never be perfect. We are whole and complete as we are. but we all have some stuff we need to deal with and figure out, right? Because as we go through life, especially if you're at our age, you've experienced some experiences, right? Not all of those may have been perfect. If you have, then God bless you, and you're a very lucky person. And listen to those who have experiences if you've not had them, right? So you figure out what your beliefs and facts are, right? A lot of people will believe, oh, I've been told my whole life I'm lazy. But were you really lazy, or was that a mother or father wound that was being put upon you?
Right. Now,
right?
in your
Or
opinion,
maybe,
how would one get away from the mother wound? Try and, alleviate
well,
some bleeding and whatnot.
you can, you could do therapy, right? If you can't afford therapy, you can grab a good self-help book or two
Right.
and just start that process that way. And people don't like it when I say this, but normalize removing the toxic people from your lives. If somebody is in your life that constantly causes you harm, then you need to step away from them, right? And people will go, oh, Dee, but you have to honor your mother and your father. I'm like, no, you do not have to honor anybody that is causing you harm. That
Hey
is
man,
toxic.
that could be a tough thing to remove yourself from.
Yeah.
They're normal. It's abnormal to heal people, but
Yeah.
if it's
Well,
their normal, it's going to take some time for that, right?
if it's their normal, it will take time because sometimes you have to get hurt again and again before you realize and finally step away and go, okay, I see what I was told, what I was talked to about, right?
So you're saying that? So you're saying it's just like someone cutting himself, it heals. They cut himself again, open it up and throw salt into it.
Yeah, because some people do the same thing again and again and again, expecting a different outcome.
Right.
But you're not going to get a different outcome unless you change what you're doing.
Right. So what are the critical steps to getting away from that?
Sometimes you have to cut ties and then do the work on yourself, because you can't do the work if you're still speaking to the people causing you harm, if you're still involved in relationships with the people causing you harm.
That's
Right?
true.
Sometimes it may be just a weekend and you go and you think, you do some self-help books, you do some worksheets, you figure out what it is, what has caused where I am right now.
Right.
What's the issue behind what's going on in my life? And then once you get to the root of a problem, it's a lot easier to fix it.
Right.
If you're tap dancing around above ground, pretending, you're never going to fix a problem because you're never going to dig down deep. And is that painful? Yes. Because sometimes you'll have to admit that, yeah, my parents were abusive. My parents were not perfect. They may have been doing the best they can, but they were abusive, and you have to acknowledge the problem before you can move on.
Right. Let's allow this thing to breathe for a quick second. I see some comments coming in.
Looks like Marcus had a comment. He said he had to remove himself from both of his parents, his father for a decade and his mom for 2 years. Best thing he ever did for. He says the best thing I ever did for myself. Wow, your father for a decade. Okay.
Wow.
Yep. And listen, I have been in multiple groups and talked to hundreds of people, and never has it been a time where somebody who was trying to heal removed themselves from a family member and did not benefit from it.
Exactly. Marcus, how long did it take you to do that, and how difficult was it for you to remove yourself from your family, especially your parents? And I'm sure once you did that with the parents, if you had siblings, it was going to get some backlash on that. So what did that look like, Marcus?
What do you mean? How long did it take him to make that decision?
Make that decision and move forward, saying, hey, this is not me. This is not good. Did you seek help, or did you just say, hey, I'm done?
Yeah. And how are those relationships now? I'd be interested to know if you want to share that. Mark said it's a reflection on how we have experienced parenting and how we parent. It is a way of looking at how current codependency behaviors may be linked to missing elements in the past.
That is correct.
Somebody is Googling today.
Mark is trying to stay on my good side, I guess.
I see.
Yeah, he's right. It is, because what happened? Yeah. Listen, he better stay on my good side. Like, because once you acknowledge and you're aware of what's going on, then you can embrace your vulnerability, right? Start journaling. Like I've told people, write a letter to your mother. Don't give it to her, but write a letter. Write everything out, everything that you're feeling. Doesn't matter how angry you are, whatever. Write it all down and then burn it.
You know what I
And
found?
let those
What I
emotions go.
find? You know what I find when you actually accept that, you have to accept that this is where you are in the relationship with that parent. Because I had a
Mhm.
situation with my father for a number of years, right?
Mhm.
Starting from the age of 4. That's no secret. It's the Four Horsemen book. Everybody could go and check that out. Shameless plug. But that was a memoir of my life and whatnot from the age of 4 all up into the entertainment business and all that good stuff. Check it out, the Four Horsemen. But I actually released myself from that way before I became a life coach, way before I did any of those things, right? Once I journaled it, I was journaling, writing my thoughts down. And I was always a writer. You know, I wrote songs, all this other stuff, but I started journaling first. But the journaling was so good, it was like, man, you could turn this into a book.
Mhm.
And once I released myself from that, but it didn't take me until I completed writing the Four Horsemen book. I
Yeah.
cried through every single chapter. It was very rewarding and very releasing and it was good. It was a good thing, but I had to accept that and I had to forgive as well. So that's a process.
It is. Listen, the journey it's a journey. There's no destination,
Absolutely.
right?
Absolutely.
And as life goes on, we could continue on working on ourselves.
Exactly. And I'll
Right?
tell you guys, if I step on it for a real quick second, we talk about the Four Horsemen book. But for me, you know, I became the man I hated. I
Mhm.
despised from a 4-year-old. You know, that was just my whole thing. Like I loved everything about him. He was charismatic. He was ladies, man, everything. I became what I despised.
Yeah.
I became that. You know what I'm saying? Not even realize here's a trauma at all. Not even realize that I became Little Big Will. Because that's what
Yeah.
all his friends called him Big Will. And he was, you know, great businessman, all that good stuff. But I became what I despised.
Mm.
And that's where the trauma is. So I want to break this down because I know talking about the trauma, you know, I don't want to talk over the viewers' heads and normalize this thing for them, but it's very real. I experienced that.
Well,
So
here's you want to read
All
his
right.
comments and I'll tell you
yeah,
how it looks.
Marcus had responded and said he said my mom and I are cool, but we put in the work together. I'm not real clear, Marcus, on the second one. You said your father and that relationship never healed because he never took accountability. You said you're 50. He says I'm 51 now, and that fight was at 18. Wow.
Wow.
It's a
Shannon, you was
long
getting
time.
ready to add to this. You were about to say something.
Brenda said, before my mother passed, she did apologize to me for what she emotionally did to me. Those wounds are still there, however. I am still continuing my therapy sessions, and I still have
Right.
much healing to do.
And that's very important. And you have to realize that sometimes you won't get that apology that you're looking for. And you got to
Right.
be comfortable with moving on. You got to be comfortable with letting go of not getting the apology.
Yeah.
Because everybody, you know, apologizes in different ways. It depends on how their trauma was set up. And just like Dee talked about in the opening, if you guys haven't had any trauma or no issues in your life, you're delusional. And they should move away from you quick.
Mm-hmm. So I'll go over how it shows up in men, and then I'll go over how it shows up in women. So in men, low self-esteem. So feelings of low self-worth impacts their security and capacity to exert themselves. Constant questioning of oneself, seeking external validation from others. Workplace behavior where they overcompensate in workplace settings by pushing themselves to the limit to seek validation. There's a constant frame of validation. In relationship dynamics, they fall between seeking a dependency if they were smothered, if they were smothered by an over anxious mother, or building protective walls and shutting down if they to avoid heartbreak and abandonment, right? And then here's the one that when I see the alpha males, I automatically think, oh, mother wound, because one of the key processes of mother wound in men is distorted masculinity. To hide the vulnerabilities arose from the impact of the mother wound. They may sometimes resort to wait for it. Shut up.
Ignorant people like myself, you can't do that. Just don't fly over the head like that. Tell us what it looks like. That was deep.
I am if you stop talking. You
Go
cut
ahead.
me off.
Go ahead.
All right. So to hide from the vulnerabilities aside for the impact of the mother wound, they may sometimes resort to exaggerated displays of manliness, or in contrast to suppress emotions they perceive as weak, leading to communication barriers and emotional disconnection. All right. If you listen to the alpha males, that's them in a nutshell. And then interpersonal trust, because they don't have the consistency of trust growing up with their mother,
Right.
that trust that their mother built as a safe spot.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And then are we ready to go on to daughters, or you're good?
Now we're good. We're good. Shannon?
No, I'm good. Let's move on to daughters. I don't have boys. I have girls. So let's talk about this.
So with daughters, it's completely different. Right. So with daughters,
Mm-hmm.
it's a denial that is like a shield against the pain and thought, anger, because the protection barrier breaks down. There's also depression, and then overcompensation, and then reestablishment of the same processes within their own children.
Okay.
Because you mother how some people will mother how they were mothered, and then if you're breaking the cycle, you will mother in a completely different way than you were mothered, because you understand the pain that you felt when your mother did XYZ.
Right. Well, we're gonna let the thing breathe for a second and let Shannon throw some gumbo talk in here and just
some comments in there. We've got some comments though. So
yeah, but for the folks, before we do that, for the folks on Instagram, I gotta say, man, you guys sound great and look good. Shout out to Instagram, man. They had a whole situation that's dedicated to audio. Y'all know that's my thing with the whole studio and whatnot. It sounds great on this end. I'm listening to it in the monitors, and you guys sound great and look good. Good stuff.
All right, Instagram, do your thing over there. I do hear me popping over on Instagram. Don't want a lot of
absolutely. It sounds great.
To be going live over there, so
yeah, we are.
Right.
All those 23,000 folks that support us, we really appreciate it. Good stuff. Go ahead.
Awesome. So we good? Can I talk now? Brenda said she was agreeing with you, Trent. She says her therapist told her that she had to accept that she may never get an apology.
See?
Yeah. Sometimes that can be very difficult to move on from. It's like the apologies you'll never get. How do you move forward from that? Exactly. And then Marcus also said that his relationship with his father will never change. That's really disappointing.
But honestly, Marcus, and if I will, if the boss allowed me to speak with him, because that tugged on my heart when he talked about not working out with his father. Just for a moment, I'd like to speak of that. Is that okay, boss? So I'm talking to you, Shannon. But anyway, so Marcus, try your best, man, to work things out. I got my apology 20 minutes before my father died in my arms. It was so refreshing, and it helped me out to get past the hump of the grief. I still went through the 5 steps of grief and loss with that, but it helped me because I had a chance to spend time with him. I had a chance to take care of him. And the 8 days that I spent with him, before his passing, I was just coming through town and visit him at the hospital. He had a routine situation, removing a tumor on his frontal lobe. Surgery and everything was great. It was just something freak accident that happened. And last thing I ever heard my father do was call my name. And he died in my arms later, right after that. So if you can get a chance, man, just if you can open up and find different ways to work on how to speak with him or how to, allow him to relate with you. So maybe just be a miscommunication thing, but just if you can, it's very important. It's imperative that you at least try. It doesn't matter if you're 60, 70 years old, but at least try. There you go. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mark said, in patriarchal societies, it may be easier for mothers to pass on their own mother wound to their daughters. Women who have internalized stereotypical beliefs that regulate women as second-class citizens are more likely to consciously or unconsciously transmit these beliefs to their daughters. Man, did you go to Chat GPT?
Now, hold on. Now, are we petty tonight, or are we going to save that for the latter part?
I'm just saying.
Listen,
Hey,
I hate to
Martine,
say it, but
welcome. Martine said hi.
The
She's hopping in.
shade, the shade, the shade, the
Wait,
shade.
what was the shade? Where was shade at?
You asking about Chat GPT?
I was just asking. AI is all over the place these days. You
Mhm.
can, it's all over the place. So who
Ladies and
knows?
gentlemen, y'all might not see the shade, but between Shannon and Coach D with shade with Mark, and he gives it to them. He gives their fair share of shade all on the platforms and all that
he
stuff. So
only
it's all
he only gets shade when he's condescending and patronizing. Otherwise, I will tell him that he was correct, like I just did earlier. So he's on point tonight. He's right.
ladies and gentlemen,
If
ladies and
it
gentlemen, it's
wasn't
all
for
in
women,
love,
the
and
patriarchy would not exist.
we call that gumbo talk and straight talk. So good stuff, man.
Oh my goodness! If you saw the comments that he made on the conversation page, just like, oh, come on.
I saw that.
Yeah, I don't go on that page.
Yeah.
I
So
don't like
you know what? Marcus says, no, I'm good. I told him not to treat his grandchildren like he did me, and he couldn't do it. So I'm good on that. What I did was drop my bricks and make myself better.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
You put up your boundary.
Yeah.
And sometimes you have to have that
Sometimes you have
conversation.
to do that. Respect that. I definitely respect that. So sounds like a different dynamic than what I had from my father, but it's that, hey man, sometimes you got to place that boundary up. So I totally agree.
Right.
That's not how it's
Martine,
supposed to go.
the topic is the mother wound tonight. She was asking what the topic is.
Okay. What's up, my
So
favorite Detroiter?
Let me hit on Mark's comment.
Okay.
So when it comes to the patriarchy, in order to be fully empowered and fulfilled and actualized, we actually have to be disloyal to the patriarchy and thus disloyal to the patriarchy within ourselves and what our mothers have taught us.
Ooh.
So that's a whole other conversation about the
Exactly.
patriarchy and how to break it down, because it's women uphold the patriarchy. The patriarchy would not exist if women did not uphold it. That's like men are now complaining about the 4G movement in Korea.
Now are we saying all women or just a certain group of women?
I never say all women. You know that. I say
No,
in
what
general.
I mean is we talking about the the patriarch and holding them up and all this stuff. I'm really saying Caucasian or melanated. Which one you speaking of?
Both.
Okay.
Both.
You see, I'm trying to do better and trying not to get pants.
I know more than one church mother would tell you that you should wear a dress to church and not pants, because that's just it's sheer nonsense, right?
Yeah.
Most trauma. There's so much trauma involved in churches. We don't want to go down that road.
Hey,
remember I had this whole conversation with you about past prophets for profit.
Stop. Hey, it's Sunday and I'm still trying to talk to the Lord before I go to bed and get my day started Monday morning. So it's still Sunday.
You can talk to the Lord, but all the people talking for him ain't about the Lord.
I will agree with that.
That's absolutely true. Actually,
you gotta discern and know it for yourself.
I was having a conversation earlier. Actually, I think it was Shannon. I was talking to her about communicating and the difference between communicating and having a connection to God and being tethered to God instead of just packing a Bible and quoting scriptures and all this other stuff. And, I know God. You hear a lot of people say, I know God, but are you tethered to him? So, yeah, I get it. But we're not going to go on there. We'll stay on the mother wound because I don't want to get Coach Dee started because we get banned all over the place when she go to get started with all that stuff.
I don't. So
it's only it's the Christians by buffet that don't like me. The other ones aren't worried about it because they know.
By buffet?
The ones giving you a lecture about being a good Christian while wearing a wool blend suit. Like,
as I graciously blend in and say, Shannon, what were you about to say?
I'm just sitting back sipping on my non-water and non-ginger juice drink tonight.
Okay. All right. Okay.
It's all right. All beverages are okay. There's nothing wrong with them.
No, she said Christian by buffet though. I was like, that's a new one for me. Okay. I like it. Okay, got it. So what do you recommend, Coach Dee, as far as, because since we kind of I think we started off more so with the mothers and sons tonight. Right. So for those mothers, and that are raising young men,
Right.
what are some tips or some best practices, so to speak, to use in their parenting to kind of minimize or prevent as many of to prevent some of that trauma from being passed on to their passed on in their relationship, or having a trauma-based relationship with their son, or toxic?
Well, rule number one, if you say raising boys is easy, you're doing it wrong. Because raising a emotionally intelligent young man who women will not have to heal from goes against everything society is putting out there, right? You have to go, they have to be understanding that women are equal to men, that we're not, even the Bible says that we're side by side. We're not better, not worse than. We're side by side. And that man being able to express his emotions. So Xavier feels good expressing his emotions to me. If he cries, I tell him to let it out. If you get hurt, you get hurt, and it hurts. Cry, damn it. Don't tell them to stop crying.
Yeah, I will say that.
It's going to hurt you.
I will say, and I will admit that in the Black community, as men, as boys, as little boys, we're taught to be tough, suck it up,
Right.
don't cry, be a man. At 4 or 5 years old, a father's telling his kid, be a man. You know, and some of them grabbing them in the chest, be a man. Yeah, exactly. Not knowing that they're actually injecting trauma into that kid.
Yeah. If you ever tell a child be a man, then you need to stop and figure out what you're triggered. Exactly. And I will put a trigger worksheet in the conversation group for people to go use. Because here's the thing. If you start yelling at your child for doing things that are developmentally of their age bracket, then it's an issue that you haven't paid attention to, that where that child should be on the developmental scale, right? Kids all develop at a certain stage, and certain behaviors should be expected at that time. If you're trying to pop a 2-year-old, you need to step back and think about why you're doing that, right?
Right.
Yes, there should be consequences for bad behavior, but hitting children teaches them that love is violent. And all you're doing is setting them up for violent relationships later on.
Exactly.
And people are like, what? What do you mean, Dee? I'm like, yes. And then you say, I do it because I love you. That's number one thing in domestic violence, right?
Exactly. We got a couple of comments here. I see Amanda on Instagram. Good stuff. Appreciate you. Shannon?
No, Martine, her last comment was pop them in their mouth. So it was something, she was commenting on something that we mentioned before. So I thought it was very interesting, Coach Dee, that you mentioned raising young men or raising men that women will not have to heal from. And that is a very, very hot topic. So one of the things I heard you mention was making them feel safe, or allowing them to feel safe expressing their emotions. So how do you reinforce that, with young men? And I guess probably even from your own parenting, how do you reinforce that with your son?
From the time he was born, he was given his voice, right? And people are like, well, that's disrespectful. I'm like, no, he is a child. He's a human being. He is not a part of me. He's his own individual. So I would ask him, what would you like for dinner? And then you give him a choice. Like this whole, you'll eat what I put on the table. Right. What if I went to a restaurant and somebody told me you'll eat what I put on the table? I'd be like, F you, who the hell do you think you are? Right?
Right. I could actually totally relate to that. And when you said that, it brought me back to a memory. My father, when, it was 4 boys and we'd all get in trouble together, right? But what my father always did, I was the youngest of 4. He would always call me his lawyer because I talked my thing, I talked my way out of a whooping, and most likely talked Greg, Alvin, and Torrance out of a whooping as well. So he had me come in, and before he, commenced the whooping, he's like, well, let's talk to your lawyer and see what he has to say. And I said that to say, he gave me a voice. He gave me my voice by allowing me to communicate and let him know, hey, this is why I don't think you should be doing this, or this is why I think. He gave me my voice, and that's why I guess that's why I became a speaker, motivational speaker. But
people don't realize that 98% of our children's behavior is a reaction to how we're treating them or what's going on in their environment. Like when I would take Xavier out, I knew if he didn't eat his snack or if he didn't have his nap, he was going to be cranky. So I ensured that he had his nap and he had snack, because what people do so often is they force children into their timeline and ignore the child's needs. Like the child needs a snack at X, like, when your child gets cranky if they're hungry or if they need a nap. Don't be taking them on 30 different errands, ignoring the nap, and then when they get cranky and tired, complain about bad behavior. I'm like, hello, it was your fault they're doing that.
Right. It wasn't the child, it's your fault. It's time for them to go to sleep. They're tired.
Yeah.
We got about 4 or 5 minutes of comments in there.
Yeah. So Marcus says when he fell, he had to dust it off and not cry. Then women are like, I need you to have emotions. He says, I wasn't taught that. I had to learn. He said, I had to learn. It took a long time to do that. He said, I made sure I didn't do my sons like that. I let them say it hurts.
Yeah.
And not just suck it up. Yeah.
And it's so important to allow young boys and young men to admit that, if they get hurt playing a game, it hurts. Like, you can't tell somebody what their feelings are. And
you don't know that.
Adults do to children all the time. Well, that didn't hurt. Man, he just fell off his bike and scraped his whole leg open. You know darn well that hurts.
Like, how do you know? How did you know when I bust my nuts? That shit hurts.
What?
Like, people playing games, like,
you see what I'm saying? Like, hey, don't do that.
Time out. Did you say when you bust your nuts?
Yeah, like when you're a kid, like the guys know what I'm talking about. When you're riding your bike, when you're a kid and at the bar in the middle.
You can find no other analogy to give us than
sorry, it came up.
That's why I said scrape their knee, but it is what it is.
Thank you, Coach Dee. Thank you.
I had 3 older brothers, so we were busting nuts all over the place.
Here's the thing.
Can you even say that on this internet?
Yeah, probably. You probably can.
My apologies. I'm a little elevated tonight.
No, it was just easy. So Martine she says, earlier today I saw a couple who fussed at their child because she was bopping around. She wasn't in the way, just doing what children do. And she also said she'd always ask her children where they would like to eat, even ask them what they wanted to do for fun on. Hold on, I'm missing part of it.
Hey, get to my comments because they're laughing. I think they're going to relate with me.
They're laughing at your busting your nuts. Like, hello.
Look what Marcus saying. What is that, Marcus?
The only place I will disagree, like, we're in a restaurant, the waiter, they're going to ask you options for dinner. I'm not giving you 20 options for dinner. I had 3 kids. I'm not about to sit in here and I don't work 12 hours all day and be like, okay, what you want to eat? No, we got this or that. Which one you want? And if you don't want what I'm going to make, then you can fix something for yourself.
Well, how about I challenge you to this? If you know you're going to a restaurant, why don't you look at that menu in advance and then give the children a choice before they get there so you're prepared when they arrive?
Oh, I'm fine with the restaurant. I was talking about at home. I don't care. Like, we do that now. When we know we're going someplace, everybody's on their phone looking at the menu ahead of time, figuring it out. But if we're at home, it ain't gonna be like, oh no, I want French toast and I want that's not how it go in here in Mama's kitchen. We're gonna
First of all,
sir.
Go ahead.
We'll work with you. We'll work with you on that, Shan.
Wait a minute. What is you doing, sir?
I'm getting ahead of myself. Go ahead.
I see. Calm down. Kid gracious.
Well, Marcus has a analogy for his biking.
Oh God, please no more busted nuts. He says, I fell off my bike, walked home bleeding from my arm and leg. Oh, okay. My arm and leg. My mom said, go get your bike and stop bleeding off my floor. Now unfortunately, that sounds very familiar.
It does. And so here's the thing.
Very familiar, unfortunately, but yeah.
Right.
Now, Martine said people used to fuss and call me silly because I had a bigger stroller for my children for outings while they were young and needed naps. Yeah.
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 You know what? People make little children into adults and they expect 2-year-olds to act like 20-year-olds.
Right.
Like, no, they're 2. You know, they have lots of energy. They're going to run around in circles. They're going to do silly 2-year-old stuff. They're 2. That's what they're supposed to be. They're developmentally exploring the world. And too often people... What?
I was just saying, how do you get the 20-year-old to act like a 20-year-old? I mean, I get the 2-year-old being a 2-year-old, but how do I get the 20-year-old to act like a 20-year-old?
What do you expect a 20-year-old?
Just like instead of reverting backwards sometimes. Like, I just want them to think through and sometimes make better decisions as young adults.
They're 20. Their full frontal lobe hasn't even formed yet. Hasn't even completely formed.
You bring, okay. All right. So how long do I have to wait for it to develop?
Here's the thing. We expect so much from kids because it was expected from us. But in order to break the cycle, you have to lessen that expectation because the adultification needs to end at some point, right? At 20, yes, they should be making better decisions, but were they set up for those better decisions? Did they have experience prior to? Like I work in the financial industry, and I have people who call in when I'm listening to the calls for my agents, have no idea how a credit card works, zero idea whatsoever.
Wow.
And none of their parents taught them that. Like, that's not stuff you learn in school. That's stuff you learn at home, like family budgeting and how to manage money, how to have an allowance and figure out how you save your money, how you spend your money, all that stuff. Like people wait until their kids are 19 and then go, well, they don't know how to handle money. I'm like, what were you teaching them at 6 and 7 or 8, 9, 10? Right?
A couple of comments. I don't want to get to all these guys. Really appreciate all the engagement that you guys are going heavy with good stuff.
I see. So, hi, Cortez. Welcome. Thanks for joining us tonight. He had a comment that says, if you are conditioned to thinking one way with dealing with your child, what can you do if you are a little stubborn? I catch myself at times, but go back to old ways. My son is 28.
Listen, sir, it is difficult because I will tell you, it's easy to go back to the easy ways. Like, I'm in a lot of conscious parenting groups, and traditional parenting seem to think that conscious parenting is permissive parenting, but it's two very different things. There's a lot of communication in conscious parenting because conscious parenting consists of communication, empathy, support, right? Those things will help your child to grow. Traditional parenting, there's not a lot of empathy or support. There's a lot of control. So sometimes you have to give up the control, and giving up that control is hard if you've never had the ability to have control of your own self.
Right.
As a child.
Appreciate you, Cortez. Thank you for tuning in, brother.
That's a great question because a lot of people don't understand where it begins, and it's a lot of work. Like, there's some great books out there now, like How to Talk to My Teen so they listen, How to Talk to My Child so they listen. Those are really great books if you have young kids and up to teenagers. Right. When you have kids who are adults, that's a different relationship because you're not so much parenting because they're 28 years old. The parenting role is going to change more because now you're going to be more assisting them and showing them different ways versus the raising part, because you can't raise a 28-year-old. You either did it or you didn't, right? You can't go back. What you can do is change your communication style with them. You can change the relationship that you have with them, right? As we get older, our relationship with our parents change and we become more friends than parent-child because now we're older. We look at the world differently. They look at the world differently, and it's a different type of relationship, and it should be more communicative, right? If you're 28 years old and your parents are still telling you how to dress and still trying to control you, then there's an issue with that relationship that you need to work on, right? At a certain point, your parents have to let go of their control. I told a lady, we did a coaching session, I think like 3 coaching sessions. And the 3rd coaching session, she's like, well, Dee, are you telling me I need to turn off my tracker? I'm like, ma'am, your son is 40 years old. You don't need to know what he's doing. He doesn't live with you. He's married with 3 kids. Why you still have a Life 360? Well, I'm on his phone bill. I'm like, yeah, you are on his phone bill, not the other way around.
Right.
You need to let go. He goes, well, he doesn't talk to me. I'm like, no, I wouldn't talk to you either if you're tracking my every move at 40 years old.
So it's like 15 minutes before the hour. Let's gumbo talk with the folks and then with these comments because
let me finish up these last. So Cortez followed up with that, Coach Dee. He says I'm just scared to let go because I'm scared of him failing. Is it possibly me just being overprotective and can always be in control? And he also said he truly appreciates this conversation. Thank you. We're glad.
Hey, man,
but
appreciate that, brother.
You want to respond to that?
Yeah. So fear that your children failing is a good thing. That means you're a parent who's trying. So there's a difference between overprotective, means you never want them to fail and you'll do everything to stop them from failing, being a parent, you can watch and you can assist. Sometimes they need to fail to get to where they need to be. Failing means that we're learning something. It's not always a bad thing, right?
Right.
So I understand where you always want your child to be successful, but sometimes you have to say, I'm going to step back and be there if they need me, if they fall.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right?
I acquired the tools, right? We talk about failing. Once I acquired the tools and was able to move forward and became very successful in motivational speaking and coaching, all that stuff. But I find that failing is growth. I find that failing is a ton of things. There's a lot of positive things that you could actually get out of failing.
Yeah.
You learn a lot
You
about
can't grow
yourself
with
when
it.
you do fail.
Yeah,
Listen.
John Maxwell wrote a book called Failing Forward, which speaks directly to this, which was really good. It's failure is not about, being pushed back. It helps you get towards, to this, your point of success. Basically.
A setback, what was it? Somebody said to me, a setback is a setup for a comeback.
That's
Yeah.
it. That's it.
You know what I mean? And you know what? I love Xavier to death. But I tell him that if he fails, it's okay. Right? He at 10 knows that failure just means I just try harder, which is why unfortunately he will never do any redo any work at school because he's earned the grade that he's earned. Right? Which that's a whole other problem I have, trying to get him to do redo work. But it's, as an adult, and we have children that are older, God love you for not wanting them to fail, but sometimes you just need to step back and let it do it.
And
if you want,
it's hard.
Yeah, and if you want to email me. We can talk more about it.
Exactly. Let me tell you something. Failing builds a ton of character, builds a ton of strength, builds a ton of confidence. You know what I'm saying? You start looking at mountains. And they're already molehills.
Yeah.
That's what failure gets you with a positive mindset. So it's not always negative. Failure is not always negative.
Just be there to brush off their knees and toss over hair and go, you know what, kid, we'll get better. We'll do this again. Yeah. How can I help you?
Exactly.
Right?
All right. So Martine had a comment. She said, my son will be 22 soon and is beginning to really recognize what adulthood's all about. He says, she also said, my children share their location with me and she appreciates that. She shares hers with them. Yeah, I do too, Martine. I share locations with my kids too. I know. I thought
between sharing and stalking. There's two different differences. There's a difference because some people will share just so everybody knows where everybody's safe, and there's other people who will track and then call people if they lose them and stuff like that.
Right.
Yeah. So Mark said, how does a child walk by faith when the fifth commandment says, honor your father and your mother, that your days may be long in the land that the Lord your God is giving you? I'm not quite sure I understand that question.
Do we want to have a conversation about trauma that's caused by the church?
Maybe next time.
Yeah, maybe next time.
What does the Bible tell? What does the Bible teach about how they treat children? Right? It doesn't tell you. It tells you to guide. It tells you to guide them. People think, oh, you spare the rod, spoil the child. The rod is a guidance tool. Shepherds use the rod as a guidance tool, not to beat their sheep. So we lay in the problem is that we are not guiding children properly. If you're not guiding them properly, you can't honor them. Even the Bible tells you not to follow fools.
Ladies and gentlemen,
on the corner seeking to be seen.
Ladies and gentlemen, offering place on the back pew. Just dump it in there when you leave out. Let's get to the comments real quick.
Marcus said, he said, Shan, around the time he's responding. He said, Shan, around the time they turned 30, it clicks. I know it did for me and many kids that I have mentored. Oh God, so I still got ways to go. Okay, before it really starts clicking in. Okay. What did Martine says? She says, she says tracking is crazy.
Yeah.
She's also said her son does have a lot of work to do, figuring out things on his own, focusing and having his priorities at least is on the list.
Right.
Yeah. I feel you, Martine, with that one.
Yeah. And that's where we can guide our children. We can sit down. Like, how often have anybody taught their child time management? Have they taught them budgeting? Right? Finances. There's stuff that you can teach your children that you don't learn in school. You don't learn at church. You have to learn at home. Right? Figuring out which friends are a good influence and which friends are a bad influence, without telling them not to talk to that friend. Because as soon as you tell a child not to talk to somebody, they're going to gravitate towards them.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely.
So teach them what are good traits of friendship and what are bad traits of friendship, and how to be a good friend themselves. And they will naturally lean towards people who are good friends. Like the last thing I tell Xavier when he leaves for school is like, I love you, have a good day, make good choices.
Oh my God, Dee, I do that too. I used to do it with my employees when they go. I'll be like, okay, make good decisions today.
Yeah. and he just rolls his eyes and said, love you too, right? Because when you instill these values in children when they're young, it becomes second nature.
Right.
So by the time they're 20, their decision-making skills are a little different because they've been taught how to manage their time. So they know if they need to get to work at 9, they're not getting up at 8:55.
Exactly.
Right? If they've been taught finances through an allowance, or like Xavier, he did a software testing job, they have to know that they got to wait for that pay to come in the bank before they can spend it.
Exactly.
Right?
It's about 7 8
for that, buddy.
It's about 7 8 minutes till the hour. Want to get some business taken care of. I see you, Miss Barrow, over in Atlanta. I see you. Appreciate you for tuning in, Miss Lady.
Yeah, we've got some new folks tuning in over on Facebook too, on the conversation page. So Telly, thanks for logging in and tuning in with us. Queen, I see you. Kimberly, thank you for joining us too tonight, as well as you, Tony. Thank you guys all for showing up and supporting tonight. And
Man,
being
appreciate
a part
that,
of the
man.
conversation.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Good stuff. So I want to talk about we'll close it off and top it off with this mother wound. So hopefully it was very informative for you guys. Really appreciate that. So we did promise that we come with the mother wound and all that stuff. So hopefully we deliver for you guys. So I was just here for the popcorn tonight. So,
next week we'll do the father wound.
Exactly. So good stuff. Man, good stuff. So
should we do a drum roll for the next couple of announcements that are coming on? Because I know you posted some exciting news today.
Actually, I'm finished with Romello, the recovery book. It actually is off to the editor. I've been working on retail with Amazon and Barnes and Noble and Walmart, and that rollout's going to be real big. That book's going to be bigger than the chapter of the Delta. You heard it first here.
Wow.
It's a wonderful read. It's a story about redemption. It's a story about healing physically and mentally and whatnot. Talk about loss, of parents and siblings, and finding love within the recovery and good stuff, all that stuff. And great. It's going to be on Taylor Kennedy Publishing as well. So as you guys know, if you guys have followed me for years, 10-time published author and all that stuff, and you guys know how I get down with the authorship. So good stuff. Really appreciate all the supporters. And actually, someone booked me in Illinois, so I got that booking yesterday. Really appreciate it. I'll see you guys in the fall. So good stuff.
Nice.
I haven't been out in 7 years, and I'm looking forward to it. I was kind of reluctant because of the situation. Last time I traveled, I had Kobe with me, and actually the nonprofit sent a sprinter for Kobe and I to get to St. Louis, and we took care of some business there. But this time, it'll just be Kobe and I. So I'm strong enough to get out there in the fall and make it happen. So another conversation with Trent, brought to you by Taylor Kennedy. So good stuff, man. Really appreciate all the support. And I see you guys on Instagram coming back. I see you guys on there, like Darlene McCoy. I really appreciate you. All these folks, man, they're coming back, and I'm thankful, really proud of then getting back to where it was, because after the incident, it was done for me. At least that's what I thought. But God had better plans,
Mm-hmm.
So thanks to Shannon for actually walking and holding my hand through that process and seeing this thing through with me. I'm really appreciative of that. So we'll pass that up, and you got a new app coming out, right?
Yeah, but I think you might be more prone to speak on that, sir. Revamping of tops and bottoms.
It's a revamping of Tabs Edible Creations. There's a new app involved with that. It's going to look like the TK shop, but it'll be all tabs, everything tabs, from paraphernalia to the Cookie Monsters and all that stuff, the cakes and all that stuff. So be very interactive, just like the TK shop. And the website actually is going to change a bit because we thought that it was very long, and need to short it up for the guys who, it's the new age of the internet. So everything has to be small, and people don't want to take the time anymore and type things out and whatnot. So shorten up the domain and whatnot, and it's going to be a great look, man. I'm excited for Tab's Edible Creations, and we started and created this platform again and relaunched the conversation. It's been there for years, but without Tabs and Shannon and walking me through, because you guys know I have a condition.
I'm sorry. You do have one. I'm sorry.
So
I know, Martine. I'm excited too. And actually, Martine.
So we got some great things. We got some great things here, man. And it's really appreciated. And I'm so glad that I could finally share the platform with folks who actually benefit and appreciate that. Because when I had those 100,000 users and all this stuff, and I'm flying abroad and speaking in the Bahamas and Jamaica and all those places, people took advantage of the bus. You know what I'm saying? But these wonderful ladies here, they deserve it. And as far as I'm concerned, they're gonna get it all. So I take a backseat to them every week. So anything that they got on their platforms, it's always gonna be on Taylor Kennedy Media website and the app. Click on it. Click on their stuff before click on mine, because they deserve it. Because they've been holding me down and putting up with my foolishness for a number of years. So yeah.
Decades.
See him taking personal.
Sorry, I'm so sorry, Coach Dee. So yeah,
we love you. That's why we put up with you. Otherwise, we would have buried you long ago.
In the backyard.
No, ma'am. Every girl needs a friend with a hog farm.
Oh my gosh! So I'll end with Martine's. Martine had a comment that week, a last comment. She said her daughter handles her business. She's listened to several of her suggestions. When she was 19, she had $15,000 saved, which was more than a lot of adults. She's a go-getter, very driven, a homeowner, etc. She says we have lots of work to do still as parents, and lots of healing is needed, and lots of adjusting. And maybe next week, Coach Dee, as we're going to, I think you said the father portion next week, because then when you opened up, you made the comment about we love our sons and raise our daughters, and I think that's a prime example for Martine, how she says her daughter and her son are very different as far as driven, go get her daughter saved up money. Their son still kind of has some things that he's got to grow into. So I'd be interested to understand the different dynamics and maybe how your relationships were with them. And I think that may be more to support and prove your point, Coach Dee, about we raise our daughters in certain things, but we love on our sons and don't necessarily have those same expectations from them.
Exactly. So before we get out of here, Dee, hey, we saw the shop. You got a shop open up over there on Dee's Corner. So talk about it a little bit.
CoachDlater.myshopify.com. So it's got my t-shirt. It's got some t-shirts on there. It's got I have a special 2 hours for the price of one. So if you want to talk to me, you can get 2 hours for the price of one, and you can break that down any way you want. And then it has my growth mindset cheat sheet. There's going to be some more digitals put up there this week. And my book is being checked for editing right now. And then I'm going to bind it up and have it ready for sale. So I'm not doing the Amazon thing because they don't give me enough money. So I'm going to bind it myself and send it out.
Wait a minute. Everybody else writing books. I need to find something to write about now.
Yeah, definitely.
You write it out.
Everybody got something to write about. Everybody.
You write it out.
I need to find something to write about.
Hey, real quick, Dee. You still have that gumbo promo code, or that's done?
I didn't put the promo code. I put it straight onto the Shopify itself. So you'll see 120 hours for $250 instead of 60 minutes for $250.
Gotcha.
But there's a limited of 40 hours available. So once those 40 hours are gone, it's back to the regular price.
Gotcha. Good stuff. So
all right. Yes, Martine will post all the info on the page. I'm sorry, Martine wanted to know if we could post all the info on the conversation page. But yes, we will.
Oh, absolutely. We really appreciate that, guys. Go over to Apple, man. Apple, those numbers are going in the Netherlands and all those other different countries. I love seeing all those other different countries. I really appreciate you guys here in the States, but the people in France and all that stuff. I'm glad to see those folks back after all these years, and they're supporting, man. They're supporting over there on Apple, so we really appreciate that. So you go over to Apple if you have an Apple device. Head on over to Apple Podcasts, subscribe. First 3 days are free. Well, after that, $1.99 a month. So, and you get a plethora of content. You get past shows where when Shannon and I first started and going back and forth and all that good stuff. You get all that stuff right there on the Taylor Kennedy platform on Apple Podcasts. And don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel. That supports us and it gives us monetization and all that good stuff. So as you guys hit that subscribe button, really appreciate it. We'll be able to get those cookies to you guys, all the paraphernalia, all the books, everything. And we'll be doing some free stuff and all that stuff. So, just subscribe and we'll throw some stuff in for you. So really appreciate that. Shannon?
No, I just want to thank everybody. Thank everyone on Facebook who tuned in, Instagram. We stream on TikTok too, right?
Yeah, no, not yet.
Not TikTok, but Instagram and Facebook. So thank you guys for tuning in. Have a great week. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday, and we'll see you guys. We'll do it all again next Sunday, 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 Central. Night, everyone.
Good night, everyone. If you're watching, if you're looking at the eclipse tomorrow, be careful. Wear proper eye protection.
Hey, I'm glad you brought that up because I was talking to Torrance, and now they're getting all these protective glasses. I guess the folks in our age, they didn't give a shit about us because none of that stuff was.
I was about to say I don't remember getting glasses.
Because I asked Torrance, I said, "Hey, do you remember the eclipse?" He was like, "Yeah." I said, "I was looking right at it. We were outside playing. I'm still good." So I'm trying to figure out.
In Canada, we made special glass to look through. So I don't know. You're supposed to like you, I guess.
We appreciate you guys. Don't forget, man, that Tabs app and everything's gonna be live next week, and hopefully we can get the Cookie Monsters going with the cookies and all that stuff. And I can guarantee those cookies are a hit. They're a hit. They're a hit. So check out the shop, Coach Dee's Corner, all that good stuff, and as well check out the TK shop right there at TaylorKennedyMedia.com.
Okay, it's 2 minutes after the hour, sir. We gave all this again. Have a good night.
Bye.
You guys have a good night. Yeah.
Conversations with Trent in conjunction with Taylor Kennedy Media and your radio network would like to thank you for calling in and listening to tonight's episode. We hope that tonight's conversation offended you just enough to turn your mirror inward to come back for more. So until next week's conversation, be epic.